It was a chilly Saturday morning when Daniel Pricean, exhausted construction foreman with cement still under his fingernails, pulled into the grocery store parking lot. He hadn't planned on stopping. He hated grocery stores, hated crowds. But he had promised his mom he'd visit her that afternoon with some flowers and her favorite tea. That promise was the only reason he was here at all. As he stepped out of his truck, the sound of children playing carried over from the park next door. Their laughter echoed against the chain-link fence, dividing the playground from the parking lot. It caught his attention, not the laughter itself, but the absence of it from one little boy sitting alone near the corner of the fence. Daniel froze. For a moment, the boy's eyes fixed on him like he was waiting for something. The boy couldn't have been older than 8. He wore an oversized coat and scuffed sneakers, and his small fingers curled around the metal fence as though it were holding him upright. Then came the words, quiet, almost carried away by the wind. "Sir, could you pretend to be my daddy just for one day?" Daniel blinked. "What?" he asked, stunned, thinking he must have misheard. The boy's eyes glistened, but his voice was steady. "Just for today, please. Nobody comes for me on visiting days. Everyone else's parents do, but nobody ever comes for me. And the kids." He swallowed hard. "They make fun of me." Daniel's chest tightened. He'd been a lot of things in his life: an angry teenager, a broken husband, a workaholic. But he'd never been a dad. That dream had died years ago with his marriage. He'd even stopped thinking about it. He glanced toward the playground and noticed a small sign posted by the gate. Willow Springs Children's Home Visiting Hours, 10 a.m., 2 p.m. The other children were already running into waiting arms. Mothers and fathers kneeling to hug them, handing them juice boxes and small gifts. And this boy was left alone on the other side of the fence. "Why me?" Daniel finally asked, his voice cracking more than he'd intended. The boy shrugged. "You look like you wouldn't mind." Something in Daniel broke open in that moment. He didn't hesitate. He walked to the gate, pushed it open, and knelt in front of the boy. "What's your name, Eli?" the boy whispered. "Well, Eli," Daniel said, offering his rough hand. "Looks like you and I just became family for today." For the next 3 hours, Daniel became a father in every way he knew how. He swung Eli on the monkey bars. He cheered as Eli scored a goal in a game of kickball. They sat together on the park bench sharing a soda, and Eli proudly showed him the drawings he kept folded in his pocket as they walked the small trail behind the playground. Eli told him everything: how his mom had passed away when he was 5, how his dad had never been around, how he'd lived here for 3 years, waiting for someone to choose him by the time visiting hours ended. Daniel felt as if his heart had been ripped open and stitched back together all at once. At the gate, Eli looked up at him with wide, hopeful eyes. "Will you ever come back?" he asked. Daniel crouched down and placed a hand on his small shoulder. "I can't promise to be perfect," he said, his voice thick. "But I can promise this: I'll never let you spend another visiting day alone again." For the first time that day, Eli smiled without hesitation. That evening, Daniel stood on his mother's porch, flowers in one hand and Eli's tiny hand in the other. His mother opened the door, surprised to see the boy at his side. "I'd like you to meet someone," Daniel said, his voice full of quiet pride. And so began something neither of them had planned: a lonely man and a lonely boy who found in each other what they'd been missing all along: family. Because sometimes the smallest question whispered through a fence can change a life forever, and sometimes saying yes to someone else's need is the most powerful way to heal your own. We all have the power to show up for someone, even when it feels like we have nothing left to give. And often, those moments of kindness change not just their life, but ours. "Sir, could you pretend to be my daddy?" One man's answer changed to lives forever.